7. So I did as Lionel suggested. Along those lines, I found other linemen, sketchy pencils and ones with little specks or dots on the way, to help me with the list of stints I'd been tasked with. I had matchsticks that could see at least 4 colors. We'd lug 'em and I'd collect more and more D. I had rows and rows of segments moving down the line and up to the second dimension, and the big stick started noticing. It was flatly a straight-up fact that I was running this sideline hustle better than any Slash had ever done. Meanwhile, Mr. Flute sat back lifting not one bony finger of support, all while lining his pockets with much of the profit. Erasing the smirk on his face entered my noodle once too often. It got to the point wherein I couldn't stand seeing a hairline on his bent frame. He started thickening his hairline and even locked us out while he stripped a few strokes, if you catch my driftwood. Meanwhile, with Lionel's help, I was getting thick with dimension. Needles inked me, and my boss, Mr. Flute, began to notice. A jealous streak, perhaps. "Hey, looking a little thick, aren't you, Dash?" "Oh, what do you care?" "Oh, I don't, Dash, believe me, but you're going to end up getting built into the grid if you don't watch it. The streaks are going to mistake you for a pillar pretty soon." "Sounds like a threat." "I'm being straight with you." "Looks like the end of the line for me then, huh?" "The point of this, you noodle, is I see you becoming more and more of a blockhead, and that's a one-way ticket to the end of the line segment. I mean, you miss one deadline and you'll be a dead line. I've seen it happen. Why don't you become a lineman like me? We got good line insurance, steady dots, a far straighter lifeline than where you're pointing." "You know where the sticks is, sir?" "I sure do. Somewhere I don't want to go." "Well, then you'd know the closest point to nothing. It's the starting point of this lifeline we're on together. The very start of the line. In back of it is nothing. There's no dimension. I saw many streaks and strokes erase their whole life by jumping off it. Into the nothing. They didn't fear it because they had nothing left to lose. And that's where I'm from, Mr. Flute. And I ain't going back no matter what. I'm only moving forward and up." "A line is a line is a line." "I'm going to become a square very soon. And after that, probably a circle." "You're the thickest noodle I've ever strung along. You're on thin ice, Dash, and I'm a thermo needle about to explode." "Mr. Flute, I'm better than any of the other lines here." "That's only from your perspective, Smudge." "It is, but it also happens to be the straight-up truth." "Don't cross the line, Dash. I'm being straight with you. You think you know up, but you definitely don't know down. And you will if you keep thickening that noodle of yours. You numbskull." "I got these for you." "A box? Why do I need a box?" "You open it." "Ha ha, funny." It was a present I hope he'd never forget. "Ooh, that's a lot of white lines there, Dash. You know, I don't deal in this line of work, don't you, noodle?" "It's for your break, when the broad strokes come over, to extend the party line, keep you horizontal for longer. I laced it with crystalline alkaloid that should keep your pull working. One of the sideline benefits in my line of work." "You got a real sharp edge these days, Dash. You've lined my pockets, it's the straight-up truth, but I'm still kingpin around here. Don't you forget that, Pinhead. And thank you for the steak. I'll stake you next time. Now ski-doodle out of here." I gave it to him straight. What'd I have to lose that I hadn't already? "You know, Mr. Flute, you're on the front line of everything that's broken in this dimension. You can't get ahead here, literally. So I plan to move up and off this narrow path before I turn into you, you Nimrod." "Fire in line's too good for you, Smudge. You're fired." "You can't do that." "I just did." All I needed was one stroke of luck, just one. The white lines in the box I gave him were lined with strychnine, and enough of it could flatten a streak in less than a tick on the timeline. Later, I knocked on the door. I wanted to see what was happening. Some blockheads lived up to their name and blocked me from going in. "Hey, Mr. Flute, I came to lay it all on the line. I need this job. Please give a line a break." I didn't care. I just wanted to know if he'd opened the box. And I heard Mr. Flute bellowing with laughter. He screeched, "Go back to the sticks, you bundle of sticks." That twisted matchstick was lit. I heard the familiar sounds of line snorting, so I knew the irons were in the fire and that Mr. Flute may have just tooted his last song. I walked back to my flat and waited for the news wire. And there it was on line 1. "Reed Flute of Gridiron Industries was found flattened in his office among 2 other unnamed pole strippers. Apparently, the kingpin of linemen had a curvy habit that led to a fatal dose of white lines. A sad day for his ancestry line and a sketchy tale filled with bends and twists that fine lines are only just getting to the roots of. One point for sure is that this hollow reed of a flute has tooted his last note." This is Linus Spot for Flat City Newswire. I could barely contain how upbeat this made me feel. I was a dog with 2 tails. The next day, I was promoted to kingpin. The note came down from Mr. Kane himself, and a meeting was arranged. I was going to meet the big stick himself.